Happy Hump Day, everyone. It's weather for Weather Geeks on this Wednesday afternoon. Of course, our big event in front of us is a possible severe weather episode as we head towards the end of the afternoon and this evening. But I'll tell you, I'm becoming a little less convinced that this is going to be a big deal. I'm becoming more convinced that this will be kind of just a run-of-the-mill type of thunderstorm evening with perhaps a couple of storms that reach the severe criteria, but I don't think we're looking at any sort of big outbreak of widespread wind damage, widespread hail, that sort of thing, and I'll tell you why coming up in just a second. I'm recording this at exactly 2 o'clock this afternoon, and here's what's going on. A lot going on this map, but I'll show you what all this is. Basically, this afternoon, as I put up the pressure analysis here. Let me take off the satellites. This is easier to see. We've got low pressure right here, cold front here, warm front up here. And we're firmly in the warm sector. It's muggy outside this afternoon. And as this cold front continues to slowly push east, it'll be kind of a focusing mechanism for some thunderstorm activity as we head towards the evening. Already we've seen a few things break out this afternoon, but this has been real light and spotty. Ran into just a little bit of rain on my way in at about 1:40 this afternoon, and now that's up in Trumbull County, northern parts of Mercer County. Looking off to the south, well, these kind of oddly shaped things here, what are these? These are called mesoscale convective discussions. Basically areas that the Storm Prediction Center, part of the National Weather Service, is watching for the possibility of a future severe thunderstorm watch. And this one down in southeast Ohio into West Virginia, they put out a 1225, and they put out a 40% chance that they would issue a watch in that area. But more recently, they put out one from Pittsburgh south and east down into the panhandle of Maryland, close to D.C., and they say watch likely on this, 80% chance that they're going to issue a severe thunderstorm watch here probably within the next hour or two from Pittsburgh southeast to about D.C., somewhere in there. And if you read my weather blog this morning, ericwfmj.com, I showed you a few things that illustrate why the severe weather threat is probably higher south and east of Youngstown and perhaps even south and east of Pittsburgh. And we'll talk about a few of those things again here momentarily. But as I record this at 2 o'clock, nothing severe going on. Overall, it is not bad outside. You might run into a raindrop or two, but we're not looking at a ton of rain in this short term. We've seen some sunny breaks, and as I pointed out yesterday and as I pointed out in my blog this morning, the less sunshine we see, the less likely it is that big thunderstorms will get going, because the sun helps to heat up the lower levels of the atmosphere, and warmer lower levels of the atmosphere means the air has an easier time rising. It becomes buoyant, and buoyant air forms clouds and possibly showers and thunderstorms. So we're rooting, if we don't want severe weather, which of course we don't, we're rooting for the clouds to win out over the sun. And, you know, generally speaking, they're doing that. There's still some holes here and there, but you're not seeing a big area of clear skies. And that's, you know, oftentimes a sign that things are going to get pretty bumpy if you get a big clear slot, but just not seeing that right now. Take off the satellite here. Let me also take off the mesoscale discussions. All right, so not much has changed in terms of the overall risk from this morning. The yellow area here is where we have the enhanced risk, according to the Storm Prediction Center, of severe weather this afternoon. Then we can break it down into different types of weather. Here's the percent chance of a tornado. The yellow area is a 5% contour, and the green area is a 2% contour. And what that means, for those who are new to this, basically that means that there is a 2% chance that within 25 miles of any spot in the green area, 2% chance that there is a tornado. Obviously, those odds are very, very low. They're not zero, but they're very, very low. But the overall idea here is that the odds are somewhat higher south and east, especially of Pittsburgh. That's the tornado risk. Here's the hail risk. Again, yellow area, 15%. Green area, now 5% when we talk about hail. So we're in the 5% zone up here, and this is the large hail. This isn't the little pea-sized stuff. This is the odds of seeing large hail, the kind of hail that can cause damage. So 5% locally, 15% in the yellow area south and east, and then here's the wind. And as we've been saying all along, overall the highest risk of any type of severe weather is going to be wind damage, significant wind. And we're in the 15% area here in the bright yellow. The more mustard color is a 5%, 5 to 15 we'll say, whereas the yellow area is 15 to 30, somewhere in that range. So definitely the odds are highest that if we do get some big storms, the odds are highest that they produce strong, perhaps damaging winds. But how many storms are we going to see? I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot. I think we have the clouds to thank for that. Let me start showing you the future radar products here so you can plan the rest of your day. Here's a look at the latest high resolution or rapid refresh model. This is the highest resolution model that we look at, and what I mean by highest resolution, uh, it has many grid points, points that it is sampling in the atmosphere, and therefore it can really hone in on the small features, the small storms, much better than some of the other models. Now, sometimes the model can overdo it, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Here's what it thinks the radar looks like as I record this at 2 o'clock. That looks like a pretty healthy little bubble of rain there, but the reality is, here's the radar. There's just not much. So this model can overdo things, but it does do a pretty good job in placing areas of precipitation, especially in the next 3, 4, 5 hours. So let's fast forward a couple of hours. Here it's 4 o'clock this afternoon. What we have going on is probably not much locally. Could be, a sprinkle or two, but that's about it. But things are starting to bubble up down towards I-70 at 4 o'clock. Things ahead to 5 o'clock. Some of that action shifting up to the north, but still, this doesn't look all that severe to me. Here's at 6 o'clock. And again, there's a band of rain, kind of arcing around through here. There's probably some embedded thunder in parts of this, but it doesn't look super impressive to me. This doesn't look like any sort of a pattern that's producing supercell thunderstorms. You look off to the south and east where there's a little more sun, quite a bit more instability, and this is probably, again, the bullseye. Hagerstown, Maryland, maybe as far north as Altoona, Johnstown, PA, down towards Winchester, northern parts of Virginia, maybe close to D.C. That's probably where the highest risk is going to be. So again, we're looking at 6 o'clock this evening here. Here's 7 o'clock, and finally 8 o'clock. Again, some big storms, central PA, south central PA, panhandle of Maryland. Showers and storms in parts of northeast Ohio, but it doesn't, it just doesn't strike me as anything all that severe. So kind of the bottom line for the rest of the day. Next couple of hours, 2 o'clock hour, 3 o'clock hour, probably even the 4 o'clock hour, you might run into a couple of raindrops, but probably not many downpours, probably not a lot of thunder and lightning. Once we're past 5 o'clock and into the evening, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you're fair game everywhere to hear some thunder, to see some lightning. I can't rule out that a couple of these storms get frisky enough that they start producing some pretty strong winds and perhaps even some hail. I can't rule that out, but I don't think it's looking all that likely as I sit here at 2 o'clock. Don't think it's looking all that likely that there's going to be a big outbreak of severe weather this evening. But of course, I'm going to keep you updated for the rest of the day today. Let's blitz through the next few days quickly then, because we're already approaching the 8-minute mark here. Thursday, not much rain again, but I do think as we head especially towards the late afternoon, there could be a little skinny line of storms that tries to pop up. But Thursday's not a washout. Friday's not a washout. In fact, any rain's probably through about lunchtime on Friday. So we get into Friday afternoon and drier air starts sweeping in. Friday evening should be awfully nice, actually, as the humidity comes down. And dew points are going to stay down all weekend, especially Saturday. Saturday looks perfect, probably hardly a cloud in the sky. We're going to make it 4 great Saturdays in a row. And Sunday's Father's Day, and I think it's going to be warm and maybe even a touch humid on Sunday, but I think it's still a nice day with a mostly sunny sky. So if you want to, do a little barbecue with Dad, whatever you're going to do, I think you're in fine shape on Sunday. And then beyond that, next week, the big story is probably the heat. This will be our first, I'm not going to say heat wave, but first consistently warm pattern of the year, I think, so far, where we're going to string together 3, 4, maybe 5 days of warm weather. Maybe even we could call it hot. This is a look at the GFS temperatures for Sunday afternoon. This is Father's Day, and already we're getting up in the mid-80s here. In fact, it prints out an 87 there in Trumbull County. Might be a little too warm, but only by a couple of degrees. I could see where a lot of places get to 84, 85 on Sunday. Here's Monday, and the GFS, the new version, has a 90 in much of the region. Now, again, this may be a little high, but it's certainly not outside of the realm of possibility. So that's Monday. We could see our first 90 in parts of the area, first 90 of the year. And then here's Tuesday. Looks pretty similar to Monday. Well into the 80s, plenty of humidity. Maybe we touch 90 in a few spots, and then here's next Wednesday, a week from today. It's got a 92 here in Youngstown. So don't take these numbers verbatim. They could very well be off by a few degrees, but it looks very toasty during the first half of next week, perhaps even all of next week. We're probably going to be visited by some thunderstorms on a few occasions next week as well. All right, that's weather for Weather Geeks on this Wednesday. Stay tuned. Social media, Facebook and Twitter, keep you up to date on what the radar looks like. If things do get pretty active, We may launch a live stream on wfmj.com/weather on your tablet, your smartphone this evening. So that remains to be seen if we're going to do that. But if it gets active enough, we will. And so we will see you on the TV side this evening. And thanks again for watching Weather for Weather Geeks.